Hey friends, my name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the audiophiliac. So a few years ago, I had a great conversation. Actually, it was an interview with Steve Jordan. He's a drummer. He's in Keith Richards' band, The Expensive Winos. He was the house drummer on Saturday Night Live for many years. He's been around the block. And we're having this conversation, and he came up with this expression. He was talking about people used to make records of people playing together in a room. And now people make records that try to sound like there were people playing together in a room. And we actually really bonded over that because that's where the conversation went. And I will link to it. It was a stereophile As We See It piece. And I was thinking about that when I heard this record first, Duran Jones and the Indications. Now, it's like an R&B soul record, and it really sounds like they're playing together in a room. They may not be. I'm not sure. I couldn't find out. But it sounds like they are, and I think they really are. But then this record came in the mail as a promo not long after, and it's Leon Bridges' new record, and it's a similar genre of music. But to me, they don't sound like they're really playing together. And I got into a thing with one of my friends about this record, and he said, no, they are really playing together. And I said, I don't know, I'm looking at the liner notes, and I see that sometimes there's tracks where two musicians play all the instruments. Horns, bass, drums, keyboards, a whole bunch of guitars, all played by one guy. So clearly they're not playing together in a room. So at least for the Leon Bridges record, I know for sure that on most of the tracks, not on all of them, but on most of the tracks, they are not playing together. And you know what? It sounds it. It does not sound like people playing together. It has a very, for lack of a better word, processed sound. It sounds like a record that's assembled from bits and pieces of sound of musicians that played at various times and never actually heard each other play because we're alone in a room with headphones on listening to tracks. So that really jumps out at me. I'm hypersensitive to that because it doesn't sound like there are people listening to each other. I think that's what's lost when records are made that way. Can the music be good? Sure, the music can be good. Would it be better if there was a great band in a room, in the space, looking at each other, seeing each other, hearing each other play? I think that's true. I'm not a musician. I've never been there. I can't say I know from personal experience, but I've been at many recording sessions where people were actually listening and playing together, and I can tell you it does have a different feel. You know, they're kind of taking cues from each other. They're working off of each other's energy, and that doesn't happen, or at least doesn't happen to the same extent when they're not really playing together live, you know. I mean, I've had similar discussions with the people at Daptone Records, this label in Brooklyn that does pretty much everything live to an 8-track machine. And I was talking to the engineer, I wish I could remember his name, and it was just as Sharon Jones was recording her last record, not while I was there, but the sessions were ongoing. And he told me that Sharon Jones records, her songs are almost always one complete take on the album. So they're not even edited. And I'm not saying editing is a bad thing or even a good thing in this case, but I said, you mean when Sharon Jones records with her band, the Dap Kings, and then there are backup singers, and then there are strings, that they're all playing live in the studio on 8 tracks? So in other words, there's more than 8 musicians playing at any given time, but there's only 8 tracks that it's going to. So there's no chance for overdubbing or changing anything. And if 3 musicians, if 3 horn players are sharing one mic, their balances are set and can't be changed later in the mix. And he assured me that, yes, on a Sharon Jones record and most other Daptone artists' albums, they are really all playing at the same time. So it can be done. Imagine that. Musicians can actually play together in a recording session. But more and more that doesn't happen. When I'm, out in the world and I hear music on the radio, first of all, there's not a lot of musicians playing. There are musicians, but there's synthesizers, there's machines playing music, and there's a human vocal, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of other people with hands-on instruments playing acoustic instruments, let's say, on a lot of records. Drums, for example, you don't hear a lot of drums on contemporary music anymore. Pop music, that is. Anyway, these two records, Leon Bridges and Durand Jones, they're both good records. And I actually got to I immediately was put off by the Leon Bridges record when I first heard it because of that. But my friend was so into the record, I gave it another chance. And I do like the music. I think I would like it a lot more if it didn't have that processed sound. The Durand Jones, that's an easier one for me to recommend. I think it's a really extraordinary record. There's great energy on this record. And I want to hear your take on it in the comments section below. As always, if you like these videos, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you feel like you'd like to do more than just nearly subscribe and subscribe for $1 a month subscription, please go to my Patreon page. I will link to it below. And thank you so much for watching.